And we're live, streaming from the footsteps of New York City. We are Music Matters with Jason Tramm. Thank you so much for joining us for our unique podcast community, where we explore the issues and challenges of the performing arts world as seen through the eyes of distinguished colleagues. Thank you so much for helping our community grow. We recently hit 1,400 subscribers on YouTube, and we've been growing across multiple platforms. So if please make sure you subscribe and smash that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on our upcoming guests and topics. To view our 150 past episodes, you can go on our website at www.jasontram.net. Again, www.jasontram.net. And you can check out our past vault of episodes. We're also very excited to announce today, actually, that we're going to be doing a weekly radio show of Music Matters on WMCA in New York City. So that's going to be something new. We're going to be on the 11:30 to noon time slot in New York City on the air. So check it out. We have a wonderful guest today. We have Miss Marina Verinikina, or Marina V, who is an award-winning Russian-American recording, pop artist, singer, pianist, songwriter with a hauntingly beautiful voice, according to the LA Times, and melodic and passionate music from the Washington Post. A self-described love child of the Beatles, Tori Amos, and Tchaikovsky. Marina grew up in Moscow and has been singing and writing songs since a very young age. She moved to the States and is currently living in Los Angeles. She has collaborated with many Grammy and Emmy winners, platinum-selling artists, and she's won awards, major awards, such as the Los Angeles Music Critics Award and Hollywood International Entertainment Award. Her music and her singing has been featured on multiple films and ads such as Pepsi, and her songs have been on NBC, CBS, Sony, the Oprah Winfrey Network, and many, many others. Welcome, Marina V.
Thank you so much, Jason, for having me here. I really appreciate it.
So glad you can join us today. How are things on the left coast?
They're going really well. The weather is beautiful and
72 and sunny.
Good. Can't complain.
Today is in the 80s and 90s last couple of days here in New York, so we've gotten a little bit of California weather up here.
Very nice. Finally, you guys need some good weather for a change.
We're ready for it. We're ready for it. I'm going down to the beach tomorrow, and it's supposed to rain all weekend and be in the 50s.
Oh, sorry.
That's what it is. It's still nice to be down by the beach. So did you always know you wanted to be an artist?
Well, I'll tell you this. I grew up in Russia and I was singing, my mom says, before I learned how to speak. And I remember writing my first songs when I was 4 and 5 years old, just in my head. And then I started learning piano at 4 and 5. So I've always been musical, but in Russia, when I was growing up, I grew up in the middle of Soviet Union collapse, and people barely had enough to eat, let alone dream of, becoming whatever they wanted to be. Just, you didn't even think of that. Your mind didn't even work like this. So I never thought I could be an artist. I just always played and sang and wrote my own music.
Well, certainly music is in the DNA of the Russian citizens, right? That is like just part of the building blocks of the society. So what are some of the things you absorbed in your childhood and your studies?
Well, I went to 8 years of classical music school in Russia, in Moscow, and I absorbed a lot of classical training. But aside from that, I love Russian folk music, which is like Tchaikovsky was a big fan of that. He incorporated a lot of Russian folk melodies into his own works, and they're just beautiful. I remember just as a child hearing some of those songs that were 200 years old and just crying because they were so beautiful. To this day, a lot of that music moves me. Most of that has been unheard by people outside of Russia, but to me, it has so much beauty and so much soul. So that's my soul.
Yeah, folk music is really the building blocks of art music. Dvorak said when he came to the United States, he was hired as the predecessor to the Juilliard School. He was hired at the National Conservatory, and he was trying to find an American school of composition. So he was taking all these young American composers together. He said the roots for American music is going to be found in the African American spirituals and the folk music of the people, and it's the same everywhere. The folk music really informs the composers.
It's a people's music that has evolved with time and has its own, sounds and vibes from different parts of the world. In Russia, if you don't mind, I'll do like 5 seconds of a
Absolutely.
folk song for you. Что стоишь, качаясь, Тонкая рябина головой склоняясь до самого дна. Very, very, it's, I don't know whatever it is to you, but to me, this is the soul of Russia.
What were the words mean? Yeah, it's soul. It's just power. It's just raw emotion.
Yeah, and this particular song is, a couple of 100 years old. Nobody exactly knows its age, but this is, a song about a tree standing by herself in the very big open space, and across the river she sees an old oak, and she's hoping to go to the oak so they could weather the cold winds together, and of course they can't because they're trees. And that is, to me, the soul of Russia. Just a lot of tragedy and sadness and beauty all intertwined. So.
Wow. Well, what a great way to start an interview is to hear some great singing. So thank you. That was awesome.
Thank you. Well, we'll be talking about, rarely anybody asks me about Russian folk music, almost ever. So this is a chance for me to jump in and be excited.
So when did you decide to come to the States, and what was it like making the transition and transplanting your life?
Well, it wasn't really a decision per se. I was 14 years old and I heard about this amazing competition. I was sponsored by the American government, basically for teenagers to come to United States for a year and study in a normal American high school in a small town and be cultural ambassadors. And there was an enormous competition all across the former Soviet Union. And I later learned about 100,000 kids competed, and they picked only a few hundred. And I was among the lucky few. Everything was paid for. They even gave us a tiny stipend. I was 15 years old. And that was in the time of Russia when things had just collapsed. My family is all family of PhDs, yet we had zero money. So a year in America at a school, that meant an opportunity of a lifetime. So my parents let me go for a year, and that changed my life. And I fell in love with the spirit of America and came back when I was 17 and on my own. And I've been here ever since.
Wow. So what was it like getting used to the culture and adapting? And did you study music while you were in the States as well?
No, I did not. I just took an elective in high school. I did the concert choir and I did the madrigal. So I sang Christmas songs.
Glad to hear about that.
I never heard one Christmas song in my life until I came to America, because Russia was an atheist society for a long time, and we didn't have, that was a very American Christmas song, like Jingle Bells. Never heard any of that. Anyway, but I performed that. I learned all of them at once and performed with the madrigals in my high school. But anyway, so it was a very difficult experience. First of all, I grew up in Moscow, which is like Manhattan. It's a very packed, big, historic city, and they placed me to a small town called Springfield, Illinois. So that alone was a shock. When people
Culture shock.
Just that alone, when people didn't want to walk, everybody drove. So that was very strange. Of course, nobody spoke Russian in Springfield, Illinois, and that was very tough. Just the linguistic barrier set aside, let alone cultural barrier, was just a whole different world. And I went from a tiny school in Moscow, in Russia. Most schools you go from the first grade until the last grade, all in the same building. So kids really get to know each other. There's small schools, even in the center of the city. Everybody knows each other. And I went from that, where I've known everybody my whole life, to a 2,000 student body public school in Springfield, Illinois, which was just a freaking zoo. And so on every level, it was just like, oh my God. And I had never been away from my parents. At 15, being away from your language, your culture, everything. Now looking back, I can't believe I did this. Back then, it was just such an amazing opportunity.
Very brave.
I couldn't pass up. Now it feels brave, but back then it just felt like this is just something I was given an opportunity, and I must take it. Like, you don't even think about it. Now looking back, I can't believe that thing happened in my life.
One of the pianists who's on our show, Jeffrey Beagle, who's a pretty famous concerto soloist all over the country and world, he was talking about the yellow brick road. It sets out in front of you, and you just put your feet on it, and it takes you somewhere totally different. And music's like that, isn't it? It's amazing how our roads kind of wind and travel.
Absolutely. And, I grew up when I was a teenager and like my 10 or my 11, 12, I've discovered the Beatles. And I did not know that with the Beatles, like the whole world had known them. I thought they were, you know, just like somebody I discovered. But then, hearing that, trying to learn English through those songs, it has become a universal language, like the Beatles with John Lennon here hanging out near me. Um, that is the music of the world. Music unites us in such a beautiful, universal way. And even at 15, I felt that very, very profoundly because I have talked to people like, oh, you like the Beatles too? I mean, that alone was like the only thing that we had in common.
So, what is it about the Beatles that grabbed you? What was it? The songwriting? Was it the lyrics? Was it the harmonies? They were such innovators in so many ways. But what do you think grabs you so much about? And how? So when music's really great, even at a young age, it's like as I'm 46 now, and I listen to great songs from my youth, and sometimes they hold up. What is it about the Beatles that makes them hold up so well?
Well, for me, it was the melodies and chord progressions, because I didn't understand the lyrics at all at that point. So I just maybe like three words out of the whole song. So I had no idea what was it about, and I couldn't appreciate the craft. But melodically, they just spoke to me, like songs like Here, Then, Everywhere, or Oh Girl, which is not even like one of the most popular Beatles songs, but that was one of the songs on a cassette that somebody gave me. And like that song, Oh Girl, it has like beautiful, beautiful music. I know a lot of Beatles fans like kind of dismiss that song. I'm like, that's one of my favorites. Anyway,
I think everyone's got secret favorite Beatles songs. And I've got
of course we
everyone.
do.
That's not one of their biggest hits, but there's who was it? It was the singer from Styx who was saying who's got a lot of hit songs, and he's like, I think I had 8 hit songs. That was one Beatles album. Amazing.
Yeah.
Their music really did change the face of rock and roll and what rock and roll could be, and they were constantly shifting and experimenting. Yeah, I'm a huge Beatles fans too.
Well, now looking back, I appreciate all the musicianship and all they've done for the pop music. But back then, all I just heard it was a handful of songs, and I just loved them. And they really made me want to write more. And just because before then I didn't really hear anything in English or anything that great.
So your first songwriting, have some of those songs been recorded, and have you do you ever go back there and perform some of those songs that from the beginning?
Some of the songs when I was a kid, I have transformed them into my current songs. So, yes, some of those melodies and even some of those words are still there. I do go back to Russia. I mean, I used to go quite a lot and perform in Russia, but now that I have a small baby, she just turned 2 years old. I haven't been since she's been born. But I used to go twice a year and perform in Moscow quite a lot.
It must be great to go back home and to share your gifts and what you've learned with your hometown, right? That must be a lot of fun.
Especially the first time I went there, it was amazing. Felt really good, and it
I,
still does.
what I love about songs and about music in general is it's like an amber, right? It captures everything around it, and when you write a song, you're capturing everything that's going around you, and you crystallize that. And what do you feel like when you listen to some of your songs? Does it take you back to those places?
Of course, music is magical like that, right? I think, the sci-fi writers write about time travel. The time travel we get to do is through music, right? The moment you hear the song you love or even the song you wrote, it takes you to that time and place. And it's pretty incredible. There's some songs that were so emotionally connected to me I can't even sing them now, but then others I do, and it's just lovely reliving those moments. Isn't that amazing how music is? I always talk how magical music is, and it truly is.
I tell my students at the university that music is an amber. Like you can't listen to Beethoven without knowing about Napoleon and what was going on around him, the forces that shaped his life, because he was part of that. And just like when you write a song, it's where you were at that exact time and in that place, and you were making the transition to America, or you were going into all of that there gets captured in the music, and it's really special when singer-songwriters share a little about their music. I always find that fascinating.
Me too, as well. I love singer-songwriters. Those are my favorites. The ones that not only write their own stories, but they get to tell them. And that's why I love the Beatles, because they were some of the first people in the pop music who wrote and performed their own stuff. now looking back, it's so revolutionary, but it feels really right to do that, right?
Now, you've written, on your bio, it says 12 albums.
I do have 12 albums. I'm very prolific in an annoying way, yes.
And I was going through some of your Spotify and on YouTube, and you've got over 78,000 views on one and 58,000 other. What's it like to watch the songs that you're writing really affect people around the world?
Well, it's funny that those views are just really very few comparing to what, I see on YouTube. But the thing is, I have had one radio hit. It happened to be in Brazil, of all places, which I'd never have even toured in South America, but it just kind of happened, and I had a top 40 radio hit there. And people writing to me from Brazil just saying how much they love my music. I think that is just overwhelming sometimes, or just like sometimes people write to me, because I do place. I run my own social media and my own website. I have put my email there so people can actually reach me if they want to. And sometimes it's not necessarily good, but a lot of the times it is good.
Double-edged sword, right?
Yes, but most of the time, in my case, it's been absolutely beautiful, and people have told me how much certain songs have affected them. Some people, multiple people, have told me some of my music has saved their lives, because a lot of my music is very self-exploratory and life-affirming. And I've dealt with depression for many years, and I write about it and I talk about this openly. A lot of people said that my music has helped like save them actually from doing harm to themselves, which is very, very disturbingly beautiful.
Powerful, very powerful.
Very powerful. So it's just really nice, and people have used my songs in the weddings and in funerals, and it's just incredible. It's like this is like the biggest reward from being a songwriter, having people feel that connected to stuff you create. It's just incredible.
That is incredible, and thank you for sharing that. And it's so important that your music, that you get to share that, and it helps people. I think that's really a beautiful thing. When I was reading your biography, I could tell that was something you're very passionate about.
Yeah, I am. Thank you. And thank you for reading my biography. I've been interviewed hundreds of times. Sometimes people are like, Marina, blah. So thank you. Thank you for doing the homework.
I work in the opera field, and I work with a lot of very, very fine Russian artists, and there's that kind of that passion and that heart in a lot of my colleagues, and I think it's just is in the water over there.
It really is. It's really weird. Maybe not in the water, but perhaps the air.
Definitely somewhere. So I like to say this is the age of the indie artist, right? Indie artists have possibilities that they've never had before. There's so much ways to get your music out to a population.
Absolutely.
So what's it like? Because today, the way I look at it, the rise of the indie artists is that people don't want the plastic image of these people that like maybe we've gotten in the past. Like I had an indie rap artist on here. He was like, I don't write songs about girls and cars. He goes, I write about songs in my community. I write about things that mean something to me. Yeah. And I think that the people who listen to indie artists really are looking for a genuine experience. They want to know who these artists are and a little bit about them. Do you feel that?
Oh, absolutely. I think we actually live in that age where people want real. I think we are, perhaps most of us are tired of the kind of the BS and superficiality of what's presented to us from the top often. So yes, I think it is a golden age for singer-songwriters, and all the tools available to us are really almost limitless. It's pretty incredible, and I feel gratitude for that on a daily basis. We were talking about before we went on air. I started streaming 2 years ago when I was pregnant, 7 months pregnant. Before that, I used to tour. I've done over 1,000 concerts around the world, but I knew with the baby, I did not want to have a crazy touring life. I really wanted to have a normal life for her and for me, and not go insane. So I started streaming 2 years ago, and actually today I'm doing my 200th stream on Twitch. I stream on Twitch, and it's like that technology. I mean, I imagine if it happened 10, 15 years ago, even, would not be able to do this. Yet I continue to make new fans and connect with people and perform my songs on, I stream now 3 times a week, and it's become a huge part of my world. And without that technology, would not be able to do this. As a stay-at-home, work-from-home mom, I would go probably crazy because I really miss performing.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So you were ahead of the curve even before COVID. You were ahead of the curve. You were already on the digital platforms and learning to use that, and so you were able to just kind of transition right to a fully remote kind of
Yeah,
performances.
there was no transitioning. I was already doing 100%
Good for
remote.
you.
It
It's
just kind of
amazing.
worked out for me, but for me it was a reality because I love performing and touring, but I knew with a baby just it wouldn't be really possible logistically and
They
just
certainly are divas, and they require a lot of attention. I
oh,
can
those
say that I
babies.
have four of them.
I know it's amazing. I'm in awe of you.
Well, I just love, it's really special. Like growing up in music, my kids have been, now that they're older, they help me on every performance. They're setting up the chairs. They're like, we've been doing this for years. They'll help me, all sorts of ways, set up the chairs, put the music on the stands,
I love that.
all
That's
the
so
conductor
nice that you
stuff.
guys are like this. That's just beautiful.
And they're kind of over it. They're like, Dad's conducting a show today, big deal. But the last couple of years, I was taking one to a different tour. Each time I would go to Italy, I would take a kid. I would go to another one. We had planned on going each one to a different European city I was conducting, and it was like, oh, all canceled.
Well, hopefully we'll resume before too long, Jason.
Things are starting. I think in the we're hearing the page is turning. People are planning them to get concerts again, and live performances are starting to happen, and restrictions are starting
Yeah,
as
yeah.
the vaccine unrolls. So fingers crossed. But in the
Very
meantime,
exciting.
I
Yes.
think it's really important that I'm just fascinated by the way that the artists have made that transition and found ways to be creative and met the needs and kept their fan bases together. And I think it's amazing how creative the creative industry is.
I agree. Well, it is a creative industry. Absolutely. And I'm grateful for the tools that are available for us. Absolutely. Just really amazing.
So when did you come to LA and what brought you to Los Angeles?
The moment I was living, so when I came back to America after my exchange student year, I came back to the same place where I knew, because the only place where I knew people was Springfield, Illinois. And
A musical hub, I'm sure.
yes, just like New York. But people were really lovely. People were nice there. And I got a great scholarship for the university, and I had friends who helped pay for the rest of my tuition, which was a miracle because otherwise I would not be able to stay in this country. It's very difficult for immigrants to come over here. So I went to the university, and the week I graduated, moved to LA. And by that point, I already met my husband, my current husband, and we were both musicians. We started writing and performing together. So from my first year of university, I started performing and touring. And people in small towns, Illinois, were so lovely and receptive. And I really sucked in the beginning, like we all do, but they were
Got to
really
start somewhere, right?
but they were really nice and supportive, and they back before the word crowdfunding was even a term, I crowdfunded my albums from the very first one. So I was very lucky. People were extremely nice. And but the moment I graduated, Nick and I, my husband and I, we moved to California because it was either New York or LA. Nashville was not really a consideration because we're not country, and the weather is, no offense to you New Yorkers, Jason, California beats it. So we moved to LA.
72 and sunny, just all the
Yep.
time.
And we live now near the beach. So today my baby and I went to the beach. It
Beautiful.
was like 70 and beautiful.
Perfection. So your husband's Nick Baker, right? And
Yes.
did you meet on performing? Did you meet?
No, we met in a jacuzzi in a hot tub, actually. And we started talking, realized we're both musicians, and our first date was writing a song together. And we,
Wonderful.
we've performed now over 1,100 concerts in real life, plus virtual. And it's really amazing. We've toured all over Europe, all over United States, and it's been just a beautiful, beautiful life together. And now we have a little baby.
That's
So
amazing. Well,
a whole new chapter.
your magnum opus, right? That's your magnum opus. So what's the process like of having a co-creator and does one of you write the lyrics? Does it change for each song? How do you go about writing music?
Thank you for asking this. It's most of the time I'm a more of a musical person. Lyrics come to me, but at a much slower pace. Melodies and chord changes is my thing. So most of the time I'm music, and I do some of the lyrics. Some songs I do all the lyrics, but some of the songs he does all the lyrics. But at least we collaborate on the lyrics. Music is 100% me most of the time, and it's really great. He's a great poet, and our collaboration is great. I've written with a lot of other people over the years, and it's what he and I found together. Just it's just really good relationship working, just songwriting wise, just specifically songwriting. That alone just really great, and I'm just extremely lucky that we found each other like that, because we can collaborate and feel really really comfortable doing this. And I felt comfortable with other people, but it's just different. Sometimes it just clicks, and it has clicked for us.
It must take a long time to get how has your songwriting deepened since you began? Like, how would you say your process has changed?
I mean, we all evolve as songwriters and people over time, but I know for sure I've become a much, much better lyricist since I started working with him. And I've also worked with other people, and just every time you work with somebody else, you pick up little gems of ideas, like, oh yeah, maybe that. And it's all beautiful, and it adds up, and there's no limit to the creativity and magic. And sometimes it's still, I don't know how that happens. Sometimes songs just kind of happen to me, not necessarily I make them happen. They kind of happen to me, and it's so cool.
Do you do the Beethoven thing and have like a notebook next to your bed and just say, "Oh, I got an idea. There's a kernel of a song in there"?
Well, it's funny, even though I'm classically trained, I've never written down the music. I always have recorded it. Even since I was a kid, I had a cassette player. So just, yeah, I do record now on the phone, on an app on the
Isn't
phone.
that amazing? Beethoven would have loved that if he had that.
Oh, well, he wouldn't be able to hear it, of course.
Only at the end. He gradually more deaf, but
But
yeah,
then he
no,
could get the good hearing aids that they have available now, so it wouldn't be a problem.
yeah. So we talk about Beethoven. It's just amazing that as he withdrew from humanity, he put it all into his music for humanity. That's
Yeah.
why his music, I think, stands the test of time. It changed everything.
Yeah.
Who are some of your inspirations as a singer-songwriter? Some of the people you say that were the most influential to you?
Well, Lennon McCartney for sure. I loved also some of the Russian pop music growing up. Some with melodically was really, really good. Russians always have good chord changes, in my opinion. Not necessarily lyrically often, as far as 80s pop, Soviet pop music goes. But and then I discovered Tori Amos and Jewel when I was in my young teens, and I really loved the depth of the lyrics and their musicianship. Very different artists, but really, really lovely. So those, yeah. But
Does your
Lennon
husband have
McCartney is still at the core of that
That's
for
the
me.
core, is a little Beatles. Does your husband have a different musical background and different musical styles that he brings to the table?
Well, he grew up in America with all this stuff on the radio. I'd never heard most of the stuff that was that he grew up with, but he grew up a huge Elvis fan, for example, and he loved like Johnny Cash growing up, and then but he's also a huge metal head. He's a metal drummer, so he introduced me to the whole new world of metal, which I never heard any of that stuff growing up. So he has a lot of, but then he also studied classical, and he played in a jazz band. So he's really managed to get to know all of these very different genres quite well. And he's very well versed in all kinds of music. So working with him and just living with him, being together, I've learned so much. Very, very, yeah, he's introduced me to so much stuff I had no idea existed.
That's what's exciting about music, is you could take all the influences and the ideas, mix them together, and that becomes something totally new and unique.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, again, there's no right or wrong. And I feel we're also living in this golden age when there's anything goes. And I love that.
Do you so when you write, when you perform, what are some of the pieces that if you were on a desert island, what are some of the songs that you're like the most proud of? Is it this song I got it right, or give it a couple of your catalog that you'd say, boy?
Well, God, I have so many songs, like the ones I've written.
Sure.
Is that what you're asking? I just want to make sure I understand.
Sure, I'm just curious what pieces you'd say, boy, if I had 3 or 4 or 5 songs to take with me, what
Of
would be
my
the
own,
ones?
or other people's
Oh, of
music?
your own, of your
Oh,
own.
of my own, yeah. I mean, if it were other people's, I would take Imagine. That's why John Lennon is here. It's specific Imagine. That's my
That song
favorite song
grabs
of
me
all
every
time.
time. It's
Even
it's
though,
one of the
even though
greats.
mostly I'm a McCartney fan, but that particular song is the best in the whole world, in my very humble opinion. But no, for me, I mean, I've written a lot of songs, and I can't really say it, but I'd like to play a song for you that I've written recently. That's on my new album. If that's all right.
Fantastic. Well, tell us about it and what's it about, and give us a little backstory.
This song is called Cold, Cold Winter. And it's, I mentioned earlier that I've struggled with depression for a lot of my adult life. And this song is about just sometimes how it feels in the moment of feeling like that. And um, so and now that it's Mental Health Awareness Month, I thought it would be perfect to play. And it's on my new record. I don't know if here's the camera. It's called In V Minor. It just came out right during the pandemic. And I had a honor of having a Grammy-winning guitarist play guitar on this. Jim Kimmel West. He just won a Grammy a couple of months ago, and he has been a guitar player for Weird Al for the last 35 years. So amazing musician, dear friend of mine. So, but anyway, this is a song. So, are you ready? You can see my piano, but I promise it is here.
We believe you. It's beautiful.
All right. Life is changing, the world is passing by. They are all moving, but I am left behind. That's how it's been lately, and I don't know. It's been a cold, 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 cold winter, and the gray is here to stay. It's been a cold, 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 cold winter, and the ice won't melt away. Oh, it seems I've lost my way. Faded, careless, fading by my mind. It's getting harder to find what's left inside. Been too dark lately. I need a little light. It's been a cold, 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 cold winter, and a gray is here to stay. It's been a cold, 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 cold winter, and the ice won't melt away. Oh, it seems I've lost my way. Oh, it seems I've lost my way. Oh, it seems I have lost my way. All right.
Just beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you so much.
That was Marina V from her new album in V minor, which I love, and Cold, Cold Winter. And thank you so much for sharing that. And where can people go to hear your music? Where can they go to find out more about you?
The best place is my website, marinav.com. Marina, V as in victory.com. And all the links to my socials are there, all the links to Spotify and all that stuff, and YouTube. Everything is all in one place. I do stream 3 times a week. I do online concerts 3 times a week. And those are totally free and open to the public. I stream on Twitch, and the link is right there on my website. So you can find it all there. So it's pretty easy. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Jason. I really appreciate it.
Really a pleasure. I wish you and your family all the best. And I can't wait to hear the new music as it comes. And what are some things you learned about yourself from this COVID period?
I think I learned to appreciate the little things that we sometimes take for granted. I mean, I grew up in Russia where things were really difficult. Like, we really did not have toilet paper for a long time. So now I get to relive that a little bit. But seriously, to remembering that little things matter and seeing people and how much just being around people. And also for me personally, my father suddenly died 6 months ago. So that was really tough. That's been just a very hard year for me personally because of that. But I think just appreciating little things that we so take for granted normally, right? Because I think
thank you so much for sharing
important,
that.
yeah.
And for all you do through your music, for bringing music out that moves people's hearts. You know, when you put yourself out there as an artist and you get to affect other people, that's like the most magical thing in the world.
It feels like it is to me. So thank you for saying that, and thank you for having me on the show, Jason. I really appreciate it. And congrats on 150th episode. That's so exciting.
Thank you, and I can't wait to see your next album.
Thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you for joining us on Music Matters. Please remember to like and subscribe and share our videos. We appreciate that. And remember, keep music alive. Good night.